going on? If you can't tell, I suck at StreamYard. Still trying to figure it out, but you know what? You don't come here for the quality. You come here for the content, you motherfather. What's up, new guy? I'm the Degenerate75. I'm a DFS content creator who is here to help you get a little bit better at DFS. We're going to be previewing the Week 7 NFL slate. We do this every single week on my channel, and then we rotate over to Mayo Media Network, where we also do it with Tambo, who I'm going to bring in now. This is my dude right here. Tambo, how you doing, you motherfather?
I'm doing well. Excited to be back. Busy week. It was week 6, and now we get on to week 7. We can look back some, talk about what's going forward. More buys, I think. We're done with these London games, so that's good. Don't have to worry about those anymore, but excited to be back here with you, man, as always.
All right, guys, if you find you like the cut of my jib, fucking like and subscribe, first of all, you donkey dicks. And then check out that schedule right there. It's right there. I do Showdown. I am the Showdown Hoedown guy for NFL, PGA week-long college football, and, of course, I do NFL. Also, make sure you're hitting the like over here. For every 50 likes we get, I will draw you guys, and you'll build a lineup with me. We will toss it in the Millie Maker, which, by the way, we had some pretty good sweats, me and some of the drawing guys in the Millie Maker this last week. When you go with some slimy stacks and the winning scores are 190, you're going to have a good week. I also have a new video up this week. I normally only do over on my Discord, but a lot of people enjoy the process part of what I do, so check that out. It's the retrospective. I don't normally put it up, so the algorithm isn't fucking pushing it out there at all. So go check that out if you want to see a little bit about how I do and why I do the things I do. Or if you don't give a shit, well, then don't watch it. And, of course, don't forget, me and Tambo do this every Tuesday. We're on my channel this week, but next week we will be back over on Ship It Nation's channel over on Mayo Media Network. So come check us out for week 8 over there, and we are going to be doing this forever. And don't forget, golf's going to be back in January. I think it's really important to note that this is probably October is the best DFS month of the year. We have NHL, we have NBA, we have NFL, we have PGA, we have MMA, we have everything. And if you want to know the truth, I don't fucking cover them all. I don't got that many hours in the day. I cover my 3 sports, a 4th one coming in February, but that's it. That's it, okay? And what I would tell you is if you want good content over that stuff, I would go check out Ship It Nation, because not only do they do good content, they are having quite the week over there. My dude, Hoop won, Tambo won, and more important than that shit to me is their users won. To me, you can judge a site by how well its members does, not how their fucking moderators do. And so they had a Millionaire Maker winner over there, not to mention plenty of other people shipping it at Ship It Nation. So I'm going to give Tambo a minute to sell his site, and if you find what you like, know that they sent me, and use that code DGen75 and get 10% off, okay? Tambo, tell me about Ship It real quick.
Yeah, you said it best. October is a great month. NBA is coming back starting on Tuesday, October 24th. So we'll be back in the streets there. I use the same projections that we have on the site now with our guy Boomer. I used those last year, made it to 3 live finals. I'm excited that more users can use them. As DGen said, we had a lot of members winning. That's what it's all about. Not just us. When we're winning, they're winning too. When we're not winning, they're winning still, because it's about process, not just picks, plays, following exactly what we're doing. We have those baselines there. If you don't have time, living a family life, you got other activities, things that you have to get to, we get it. So it's there. But the community, the Discord, all of that, all the other sports that we've got covered. NHL just came back. PGA is in full swing for the swing season. We have 3 more events after the Zozo this week before we come back in January. We'll be doing stuff together. Use promo code DGen75. It gets you 10% off any of the plans. And we did just have, like you said, the Millie Maker winner on Sunday. We interviewed him yesterday on the Mayo Media Network. You can go back and check it out. It's the first 20 minutes. You don't even have to worry about the game stuff we did for last night's game, but you can check that out. If you want to watch the rest of it, you can see how we got to those winners. A lot of people won last night, some big money. You can check it out on X at Ship It Nation. You can see all the stuff over there, but it's been good so far, my brother, and we're excited to have you as a partner. Go and do things with you. If you're not putting them together, that was the plan from the start. It's a complimentary piece to go with DGen75.com. So get them both, put them both together. You should be all set.
I got to tell you, man, I really like that Millionaire Maker winner. He was very down to earth. I think a lot of people, when they get a big hit like this, they start thinking they're fucking infallible and they are God's gift to DFS. He was very down to earth. I really enjoyed all the things he said. That lineup he built was so slimy. I absolutely loved it. He built a lineup to win a Millionaire Maker, and it made sense. Like, it made sense in a very slimy world. And he boat raced. I mean, he didn't just win the Millionaire Maker. He boat raced that motherfather.
Yeah, he won by like 11.5 points or something.
Which is
he was
crazy.
Only 7 away from the optimal. He had a 3v3 in the difference. He played it well, and I like you said, Dalton was a really good dude to talk to. If you guys want to check it out, we're gonna clip it and bring it out and put it on the Ship It Nation YouTube channel so that you guys can watch just that if you ever want to go back. But I think a lot of people reached out and said they love that. They like hearing us talk about our process and what we're doing, and they know we're doing content and playing and helping people and doing all these things. And it's the fun. It's our passion. It's what we love to do. But for hearing somebody just saying, hey, I'm doing the same thing you're doing. He said so many good things. You watched it, but like I had to ask him that because people that are watching this right now, people that watch our shows are like, when's my turn? Or I didn't win last week. And he was talking about it's a grind. You still do have to put the time in, but it's like if you just want to show up and get picks every week, that's not going to help you out. Like you have to work on your process, be able to become a better player. And that's what both you and I are trying to do with all of our content. So I love that as well.
Which I just realized what a moron I am. I didn't even have my tabs up. That retrospective, there it is. Go check it out. It's what I normally do for my Discord, but there's the actual thumbnail. And don't forget to hit the like, okay? And then we do these are all the thumbnails that I have blocked out because I didn't realize what screen I had up. All right, I know. I just want to touch on contest selection real quick, Tambo, because to me this is one of like the big three things that really separate sustainable players from people that go broke by week 5. Their wife sees the credit card bill, and now their ass is in trouble, and they don't get to play NFL DFS for the rest of the year. If first of all, I'll give you my take that I have, and if you have anything you want to add on to that or have a different take yourself, I'd love to hear it. But this week, I know you won a GPP, Pat won a GPP. You guys both won tickets into the Fantasy Golf World Championship, right?
It was the King of the Beach, but yeah, we were
King of the Beach, my bad.
And I was trying to get him for the second one. I was right behind him for another one, but I was happy to see my guy Pat get it too. So it was fun. We were there together because we were doing the Sunday night.
Could you imagine Pat winning the King of the Beach? Like, what a fucking legend he would be. Which, by the way, I'm going to be on his show Sunday. So for all of you that watch that Pat show Sunday night, I'll be there. You motherfathers can't wait to do that. But my big takeaway this week is I also won a GPP. I talked about it on the retrospective, but like the thing that really stood out to me is that GPP I won only had 740 people in it, right? If you took that same GPP and you wouldn't put it in the Millionaire Maker, I think it would have finished roughly around like 50th place, right? But because I was playing in a smaller, well-structured contest, I was able to win it. And more important than that, I actually kind of got bad luck in that the guy jumped me for a second because Zach Wilson took a sack. He jumped me by less than a point, but then I got lucky by the Jets scoring some points and knocking the Eagles defense down. But the point I want to make about that is even if I did finish second place was still was still 67% of what first was, right? And when you're in well-structured contest and you get that bad break at the end, yeah, it sucks that you didn't get to win the GPP, but you're still getting 67% of that money because it's not this massive drop-off because 33% of all the money is going to first or 44% of all the money is going to first. So being in these well-structured contests will really soften those kicks in the dick that you get when you get that bad break late in the afternoon games.
I agree. Yeah, I do play those. I think, again, I had this conversation on our YouTube channel yesterday and just talking through it, some people in the Discord as well. And it's all how you set things up and what you have to play for. Dalton actually said this, talk about the long game of playing this as the guy that won the Millie Maker. And it's not just like people are like, oh, did you have a good week? If I did or I didn't, I don't really care because even if I did, it's like, unless it's like the monumental week, which we're playing for, I'll talk about in a second, but just to say it, it's like I'm looking at it as the whole season. When I started this season, I set up with a certain mindset, goals in mind, bankroll management, contest selection, all a part of it. And then you can adjust and sway it from there. But the main thing is really just focusing on what you're trying to do. For example, in Showdown, what you just said for the main slate is how I handle it. In Showdown, it works just as well. But I'm playing the MME stuff that you tell people, like, unless you're playing 150, you're going up against guys like me playing 150, where I'm playing to win it. I don't want to get 3 10K wins and chop it up in Showdown all season. I want to get one 300K win. And if I lose along the way trying to get to it, that's okay. But that's actually going to mean something. Those 10K wins just battle through to the next one. But that's me. Your own plan should always be around what's best for you. And to your point, and for most people watching, like you'd said, it's if you're depositing on the credit card or your wife's seeing it or somebody, your significant other's looking at it saying, oh, another deposit, you're not winning all this. Do what DGen always talks about. Focus on the contests where, like he just said, you actually have a chance where even if you fall back a little bit, you're still getting great return on investment doing it that way. I'm playing those too, but I also have a focus on the MME life and where I'm trying to actually just win it, ship it for as much as possible and as unique as possible as well, less duped.
And here's another trap I see people fall into. Now that I hit my GPP this year, I still want to hit another one. We're only a third of the way through the season. It's great to already have one under my belt, and I'm almost certainly going to, at worst, break even this year at NFL. And why do I know that? Because now that I hit it, am I going to go play more this next week? No, I'm going to stick to my plan that I had. I roughly play about $1,800 to $2,000 a week in GPPs. I don't go any less. I don't go any more. And now that I got a big hit, a lot of people are like, ooh, I got more money to play with. I'm going to bump it up to $5,000 a week. And then when you do that, you start playing differently. consistently, and you get out over your skis and it fucks up your process. Have a consistent process that you trust. I don't care if I won $1 million yesterday. I'm not going to change how much I play. I come into the year with a game plan. I stick to that game plan, and that allows me to be a profitable player year over year. I don't go chasing bigger stakes simply because I got a hit. I'm playing my game. That's the only thing I know how to do, and that's the best advice I could give you. It's just because you get a big hit, don't go start playing at limits you're not comfortable with or limits that you're not familiar with, because it's a different game up there. I promise you.
And unless it's a life-changing hit, like literally winning the Millie Maker, where I could see then maybe if you won the Millie Maker off playing 500 a week and now you move to playing 2,500 a week, I could actually understand that. It's like you just said, somebody wins 10,000 and all of a sudden they're piling in $5,000 into the very next slate, like the next showdown slate. They're basically all in with that money, thinking it's going to happen again. It took X amount of time to get to this win. It did not take that X amount of money to get that money back. So it's like, that's where, to your point, just stick with what's working. I've often found that to be the best anyway. It's some of my biggest wins have been on weeks where I'm playing lighter. For example, the President's Cup or the match play, stuff like that. It's just a game theory week in golf. It's not that I'm playing less because of that. I love those weeks, but you can only play so much. Once you max it, you're there. There's not a lot of great single entry teams in that format. It's more of a MME game theory. The field's not adapting and playing the rules. So I'm playing smaller than my usual buy-ins, but I'm having better success because the week is a game theory week. So little things like that are where you find differences and can make a big deal out of it.
You did see how early lock is tomorrow for golf, right? I'm moving my stream all the way to noon. So I hope you and Andy have a plan to move yours, because if you do it at your normal time, lock will literally happen right in the middle of your stream. They go off at like 6:45 Lord's time zone. So like I had to move mine all the way to noon, or it's essentially going to be irrelevant. I literally would have my stream after lock. So once you and Andy, if you already know the time, we could shout it out here.
Live texting Andy. I see it's a 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Lord's time zone, PM.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy, right? Because they're 14 hours ahead of us, and they're still playing over there Thursday morning. Japan don't give a shit. All right, just to say hi to some people. Mike, thanks for being here. Stewie, a Illini fan. Nick, Mike, thanks all of you for being here. Bloodsport, Phil, Tweezy, all our dudes. Bill, even Billy's in the house, that Atlanta mother father. Thank you guys all for being here. I love some NASCAR DFS. Well, I got good news coming up for you. Could be Travis dropping $69.99. Nice. What's your lock of the week? Here for the picks. You know what? My lock of the week is very simple, Travis, and I know the correct answer, and there's only one answer. Follow your heart, big guy. That's the right answer. There's my hot pick of the week. And I see Nick coming in with a hundo, almost shipped to GPP last night. The process y'all are preaching has worked out so well. A little more run pure for me. Yeah, Nick, you're due for just a sun run. I've never seen a guy finish in the top 10 so much and not have the GPP wins. It's crazy. But you know what? As a guy who's been doing this for a long time, when you're consistently falling in the top 10, I know that that's usually a sign your process is working.
Yeah, I like Could Be Travis, by the way, throwing some Canadian currency in there for you. He even said it after, making me look like a poor with my Canadian dollars. That is the thing, because Nick's is worth a lot more.
What is the conversion rate on Canadian? Is it like 75 cents to the dollar or what?
Something like that. It might be, yeah, it's like I think it's like 30% more. So like Nick's money would be like 132 Canadian or something.
All right, my man Nick. All right, let's get to this slate, which, by the way, just initially looking at this looks like by far the slimiest slate we've had all year as far as the main slate goes. Yeah, so many gross games.
The totals, though, too. Like looking at the early ones. Now, all about the totals. We'll talk on that, actually. That's a good that you brought up your contest selection point. I'm going to bring up one there, but 38.5, 39, 37.5, 41, 39, 42. Like they're all horrible until you get to the Chargers and Chiefs at 49. So we've seen this play out before, and obviously that's something that we're going to have to talk about. But did you see the thing about, we talked about it with Dalton yesterday as well, with his Ritter stack? That was a game where basically they put up 16 points for Atlanta.
Yeah,
you needed Ritter, you needed London. Pitts really crushed for his price point still. I know there was other guys that got there, like Schultz beat him slightly, but still, you say those three on 16 points. You and I have preached this on this show enough times. Oh, but that total sucks. It's like this guy his team put up 16 points, Desmond Ritter 22.
They're so cheap. They're so cheap. They're still getting you 4 or 5x what they cost, right? So I mean,
Miami had 42 points to 16, and Tua at 7,600 had 22 points with a pretty big day, even threw one of them to Mostert. It's like, that's just crazy to see that. But so many people focus on just the total. There is going to be pieces from these other games, fantasy-wise, that get you there.
Yep. I love getting in these good game environments, and sometimes a good game environment can just be yards and receptions. Like Kendrick Bourne, the GPP I won, Kendrick Bourne didn't get a touchdown, he didn't get the 100 yards, but he had legit, like, I think 10 catches for 91 yards, right? And like you can have a good fantasy output without getting that touchdown, without being in a shootout game, and just being the key target who is a usage monster who's getting legit like 40% of all the targets. And those guys have value, especially I think Kendrick Bourne was like 4,200 last week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was.
Right. Let's talk about the first game here. Detroit and Baltimore. Baltimore, is it just me, or have they been a little disappointing this year offensively? I think their offensive line is just kind of dusty, and it's really killing their run game, and Lamar is not trying to run for 100 yards a game anymore. And I only like Detroit at home in the Dome. So this game right here, sadly, it's one of the better games on the slate, but I got to tell you, with David Montgomery being out, there's definitely some concerns here in this game for me.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing I would say as a Ravens fan. This is, to me, it's pretty standard, actually. The Lamar thing definitely is true. Not running as much. I've seen that. But the Ravens really do just play down to their competition, and that's the struggle. Like, when we can get the Ravens in a big game where people think they're going to lose, that's when you really want to jump in on the action, because that's when they get up for it. But lately, we've not seen that. So it's been pretty bad. Got the job done against Tennessee, at least over in London. But like you mentioned it, what's the thought on Gibbs here, I guess, would be my take, just because Dan Campbell's like, now I'm ready for this guy. It's like, okay, well, of course you have to be. Montgomery's out. But what's your thoughts on that guy?
I mean, I'll just tell you, that coaching staff loves Craig Reynolds, right? Did you see that fucking block he made that just got the guy into the end zone? The dude's just a tryhard, right? And like, coaches love tryhards. So to just completely discount that Craig Reynolds is going to be out of this offense, I think he's still going to probably get 10 or 12 touches. And I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be in a very similar role he was whenever David Montgomery was there. So I don't think he's in some absolute smash spot. Now, he is an electric player. He does catch the ball out of the backfield, so there is some value in that. But to think that he's guaranteed for 20 plus touches because the Montgomery's out, I think you're missing how this coaching staff feels about Craig Reynolds.
Yeah, I do think that's definitely a possibility, and could be Travis brought it up in the chat as well. Everyone's going to fall in love with Gibbs, and then it's going to be Reynolds as the lead back. I mean, he's going to get rewarded something for that block. They try to give him a little bit more later in the game. I guess, don't have a ton of love here, but maybe some Mark Andrews at 5,700. He's still pretty cheap, and obviously he's had some issues with some drops and things like that, but definitely think he's a possibility at 5,700 here.
Man, is it just weird how dusty tight ends have been this year? Like, the tight end all year has just been a fucking cesspool, and it's so frustrating, right? It just makes me want to play a $2,500 guy there every week and hope he falls in the box, because like, you're not getting any points so far when you're really paying up for these tight ends. Outside of like one Laporte a week, I think he got like 19 points. That seems like that's about it. I mean, whenever Pitts is one of the top tight ends, it's a shitty year at tight end.
That's right. I mean, he's finally bouncing back, but it's not really that much anyway. But I guess Laporta has been decent, like you said, and he ended up getting 11 targets last week, coming off the possibility of not even playing what we thought, and then comes back in and gets that. Obviously, Amon-Ra picks up targets, and then Phil made a good point in chat. I know why he's saying it, and many will say this: like, please let Gibbs be chalky. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he wants to go against it, but I don't think he's going to be chalk. We'll see as the week goes on, but I just don't know if there's other plays, there's other spots. Are people really going to pile in when we're already saying these things on a Tuesday? It feels like it's going to be a possibility where, everyone just realizes that, and it just keeps them in check.
Right. Could be Travis said the same thing. Don't forget that Craig Reynolds is still going to be like the lead back on first and second downs. And I agree with my boy Travis. And that's not just because he gave me money. That's not okay, that didn't hurt, but that's not the only reason. Are both of you guys with a solver? What's the advantage do you think it gives a guy? Yeah, we both load our projections on there. We both are partnered with a solver, and the advantage of doing it is you can make a good player pool, but if you don't have good projections you can rely on and an optimizer to make the best versions of that player pool, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. That's what I love about it, is it's just making the best version of my player pool. So when I make a good player pool, I still want to have the best lineups from that player pool. And sometimes us as humans get a little blinded and we don't make the best versions of that player pool. You got anything you want to say to that?
One thing quick is just about that is, I think people think, obviously an optimizer is better. Anyone who knows this plays, like say you have all your projections right in there, you can make it quicker. But one thing I always talk about, and there's new watchers if people haven't heard it before, is that if you think an optimizer is just for you got to be playing 20 plus lineups for it to be worth it, you can find some amazing builds there. I call it virtual hand building. Even when I'm picking out like my 3 to 5 max, I'll get my player pool together, I'll have it ready, I'll build. But then what I'll start seeing is, and now they have another option you can upgrade even further and do the simulations with it. But I'm saying, if you're not doing that far and going that advanced, you can actually sit in there and say, okay, I didn't think about that. That's actually really nice. That leverages this guy. I listened to DGen and Tambo talk. They said, if this, then that. That actually makes sense. I'm going to put that one in. It's like a virtual hand build because you use the optimizer to find it, but now you know why you want to use that one, and you can find lineups, like you said, that you're not blindsided by your hand building when you're just plugging in everything and then you miss on little things like that. So I definitely still use it even for less lineups. I do think it's worth it.
I see Dilfer82 here said Gibbs had 17 carries when Reynolds was out last time and Reynolds only had 4. I'm just going to let you know, Dilfer, if you want to take that bet that Gibbs is going to outpace Reynolds by 13 carries, you slip right on into my DMs and I'll place any amount of money you want. I know what coaching staffs love. That game's going to be sloggy. Craig Reynolds is going to be getting slammed into the line numerous times. I'll take any action you want on it, big guy. Okay, let's see here. Let's move on to this next game. Vegas and the Raiders. Vegas and the Bears. Man, 37.5 point total. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that's the lowest total I've seen so far this year, Tambo.
It looks bad. Yeah, it's definitely
so
I think
bad.
We've seen 38s and stuff like that. Like I said, now this would be a spot you got to decide because some of these guys are a little bit more money, right? That's the problem is you know, it's not necessarily like the example I gave earlier with Atlanta where the total was bad, but if they get 16 points, the prices fit with it. You have a quarterback that's like $5K. You've got a wide receiver, $5,400. You've got a tight end, $3,300. That's not really what we have here. And then obviously waiting on some injury news. I'm not sure what they have it at right now. Jimmy G had to go to the hospital. You know, this guy was I think Devontae Adams was Q-tag as well or something. There's a bunch going on within this game that we got to wait and see. But what's your first thoughts on it?
I mean, to me, it's just like with that high of a total or that low of a total, and then you have guys priced up like Jacobs and Adams, it starts to be very difficult to play them because think of how many points they have to get you to just return 3x, right? And it's not going to be a great scoring environment in that game. So, you know, like what is the upside of these guys that you're paying up for? To me, it really not. Even Jacoby Myers is now priced up over 6,000, which in my mind, you know, the best buy pricing. Anytime a guy goes from 5,900 up to that 6,000, it's like a threshold number to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't play that. And so, you know, seeing Jacoby Myers at 6,200, that's, you know, that even him, I'm like, how is he really going to ever pay 4 or 5x off in this game environment? And to me, it just really starts to get me off of all these guys. And the Bears, outside of maybe a punt running back, is getting very, very difficult to play also.
I might have Josh Jacobs' interest. We'll see how the week goes. 7,400. He's not really that. He's $1,200 more than Myers, like you just said. It's same game, different position. But just to say it, like his attempts have been up there. It hasn't really been great the last couple of weeks, but just going against this spot here, low total, things like that, you could just see they are still the favorite. We'll see how it actually plays out. But I could see him just getting a bunch of attempts and just running that ball out all day. That could add up at 7,400. It only really takes one play.
Is there any bear that we can consider? I didn't fall for the Deontay trap. Deontay Foreman? No. That was the answer there.
It got me in the end. I could have had a better week if he had done something. He did that. The Badgent guy that came in ends up getting the touchdown there when I thought it was going to be Foreman. That would have been really helpful. But one other guy we do have to mention here. I have no bear for you. But Michael Mayer. We're getting close to Halloween here. I know too.
Don't steal my narrative. That's my favorite narrative.
Yeah. He's been doing his thing lately, though. So I'm not sure if he gets super chalky. I wouldn't love it. But at 2,700, I think people have mentioned him a little bit going into this spot in this week with what he's been doing lately. But at 2,700, you don't really need a lot out of him either.
I think that 5 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown is definitely on the slate for a guy who is known for stalking babysitters, and this is his month, okay? So very open to that. He's just been trending and trending and trending. I made that joke a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Football about it's October, you got to play Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Some people thought it was just – I actually did play him on that slate, and he did okay, but he seems to really be trending in the right direction. I don't mind that as a punt tight end because, as I said, I'm getting sick and fucking tired of these tight ends always being so dusty. I thought I'd play Logan Thomas and just take my 10 points and move on. He's like, no. You get 1.2. That's what you get, pal.
Well, I thought I was a leg up when I had Ertz instead of him. And then Ertz doesn't get any catches until the fourth quarter. He ended up getting like 4.2 in the end. So he crushed Logan Thomas, but it was like, you're thinking, man, I'm in good shape here. He does nothing for 3 quarters.
4.2 is, I believe, higher than the average for tight ends this year. I'm so over tight ends right now. Yeah, everybody talks about getting rid of defenses on DraftKings. Let's get rid of fucking tight ends. How about that? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just a little tilted. Okay. Well, let's move over to Cleveland and Indianapolis. The big news is it looks like Richardson probably done for the year, which sucks because I really like that guy. He was way more impressive than I thought he would be. I ran only Minshew stacks this last week, and thank God for garbage time because I think a lot of people forget this. Garbage time points count the same as points that you score in the first quarter, right? So if you're down 28, your quarterback still gets all those points in the fourth quarter when he's just chunking it around. But this does not strike me as a great environment because Cleveland is playing some defense. Cleveland is playing slow. Well, who are some guys you might be interested in this game?
Yeah, I was just someone had asked about they're still gonna, I think, run Badgett, right? For Chicago, just back on that previous game quick. That's my understanding.
Yeah. Fields is out. Run the Sims does a pretty good job of updating this. That's who they have in there. So I would imagine that's probably what they're going with.
What I expected, but I just want to make sure. Going to this one, yeah, another low total, like you said, but at least here we've got some cheaper options. I don't know if I can go back to the well on Minshew. I feel like sometimes I should just because you're on him one week and then not the next, but it was a tough scene. And we had a debate. I know you're going to be on Pat's show this Sunday night, but our debate was like back to this, best backup. I kind of, it was on me. I'll take the L. Like I was thinking like, he's been better than what we thought. And what you see out of most backups, he actually hasn't been. Like you go back to the last 3 games that he's got to start. None of them been really good. And then he throws all those picks, just looked horrendous. So Not a good scene, I guess. Who'd you rather play? Let me ask you this: Pittman at 6,600 with Minshew, or Jacoby Myers in the previous game at 6,200. Who would you prefer?
Is Garoppolo playing? If Garoppolo's playing, I'll take Myers. I'll take Jacoby Myers. If he's out, I guess I would take Pittman. Because I will say this, Minshew looks at Pittman and no one else. He just throws the guy the ball every fucking play, I swear. Because I was watching that game a lot. And he just, Pittman, I think, ended up with maybe 9 or 10 catches. But I swear to God, just watching it seemed like he had 25 targets. He just keeps throwing the ball to that guy.
Yeah, Browns D should be popular, $3,300 here after what Minshew did last week. I don't know, man. Like that's I guess I would probably still lean Pittman in that previous example regardless, just because of the amount of time. He's kind of like the Jacobs play for me. Like it's still fair priced at 6,600. So that's probably all.
I don't mind that Browns defense at 3,300 either. Don't mind that one. I feel like they could get after Minshew. That guy's just a pick six waiting to happen every play.
Now we've seen this 2 weeks in a row now because it was we do the show every week. It was the New Orleans New England game. Mm-hmm. Me and others chose New England. It ended up being New Orleans, who you needed. Last week was Chicago, Minnesota, we said. I leaned on the Chicago side with Foreman, got double whammied. Chicago still put up 10, which was great for 2,500, but I'm saying the 21 points for Minnesota was on the other side. Here's an interesting nugget is if Cleveland gets popular at 33, guess who's $100 more? Indy on the opposite side going up against PJ Walker. I mean, this is another spot here where you could just go to the other side, right?
And home defenses do outpace road defenses. That's an actual statistical fact. So if all things being equal, you're going to get Indianapolis at $100 more at half the ownership. I think that's a great pivot.
Yeah, I think so too. So I'm good with it. I think that's going to be an option. That's pretty much where I'm at within this game.
Isn't this running back situation just unplayable with Moss and Taylor both being over 6,000 and both of them kind of being almost in a 50-50 split right now? I can't get there with those guys right now.
I think, we go back to this, and every year it typically goes this way. I think the thing is about Taylor is because people missed out playing him at the start of the season because of everything that went on there. He comes back. They can't believe that, he gets taken care of by Zach Moss when he just got paid. But like we said, it's probably something to do with the fact that the guy wasn't really in the game environment till just a way to ease him back in. And now it just becomes what we see every season where some teams just split their guys. They have 2 good guys. Why would they not? Just because a guy gets paid doesn't mean they have to jam him. Like they probably will and want to eventually, but it's hard to pick when you got 2 guys here just $300 apart, and then you feel like you picked wrong either way. So I think there's going to be better situations that come up as the week goes on, especially.
All right, trying to do a better job on the chat. If you guys got any things you want to know, just toss it in the chat. I'll try to get to you more often.
Buffalo, because do you see Delbert's question? He asked it twice. Do you have like a percentage you set in the solver?
Oh yeah, this got buried. I didn't even see it. Yeah, so I don't worry about it because like when I make my pool, I'm always so conscious of either picking a low owned stack or making like a low owned correlation play that like they almost always get there. So I don't do that because I don't want to nerf a really good lineup that the optimizer could have made for me simply because of its arbitrary overall ownership. I think looking at cumulative ownership is not the best way to think about your NFL lineups or your PGA lineups. I think you want to look at product ownership. And what you'll find with the math of product ownership is if you just have 1 or 2 guys at 5% in your lineup, it makes you so much vastly different. You could have 7 chalk guys in the lineup, have 2 guys under 5%. You'll be very, very different than the field.
Yeah, definitely agree. And that's what I was going to say. So I'm on the same page as you. It typically starts with how you build in general and what you're on as far as your stacks are. If you find yourself on really chalky stacks, then yes, you'd probably want to take a look at it and see. But for the most part, just getting different in a few places, which will then trigger your product ownership to be less, that's where you can figure it out from there. But I do think you're right on that. That's how I look
Stewie has a good question too. How much do you think shows like this and other, shows that are talking about the slates impact ownership? And I'll answer that first. I don't think that these shows have as much. I think that what it really is the projections that start to come out Saturday. More and more people are just jamming optimized lineups into contests. And so when you really start to see who's getting the point projections, I think that is affecting ownership more than a big name like Pat Mayo or somebody like that, saying who he likes. I think that these optimizers are affecting ownership. I've even noticed that at PGA. My ownership on PGA gets affected much more by projections than it does who Pat or Andy or Tambo are talking about.
I agree. And in golf, I think a little different too, because you get like swing season events where there's only one or two shows. So that pushes it as well. Less people are really even paying attention to projections during that off season, but during the main season, and especially for NFL, it's the projections for the players that pushes the values that then pushes it through. And then those ownership projections become more legit at that point where people see that. That's what's pushing it. And you nailed it on that one. Someone else said it too, ETR for sure. People, they have a lot of members over there. So they're definitely having people use those numbers, which are then pushing those values to be the more owned plays.
All right, great questions, guys. Back over to Buffalo and New England. What a slimy total, 41.5. Which, by the way, I guess after what we saw with Buffalo, how much the Giants corralled that Buffalo offense. And I typically am a guy that loves to play Buffalo at home. So this game at New England just reeks of a slog fest to me. Is there any way you're paying up for like a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs on those outrageous salaries when they have such a low implied team total?
I don't know. I was kind of considering New England defense at 2,100 just because they're bottom of the barrel. And even when Allen has good games, like you could still get after. Miami just did this at $2,000 a couple weeks ago. And again, you may figure them to be better, but there's a lot going on with New England right now. Like people are talking down on Bill Belichick. It's obviously been horrible so far for them. And how would it get better? They don't have a team really. Like that's the issue. So, man, I don't see. Diggs is 8,900. Like that's expensive.
Brutal. That's brutal. In this game environment, that's brutal. I mean, I know he's good, but man, that's a lot. I'll tell you, like the one guy, I'm just going to go back to him. Maybe I'm a little, still in my feels from him shipping me a GPP is like Kendrick Bourne. That guy is definitively the number one wide receiver in New England. Mac Jones has eyes for him. They design plays for him. He gets nice, easy, safe targets, which those points add up. 8-yard catches, a whole bunch of them add up real quick, right? So a guy, and they only priced him up $200 more at $4,400. This is likely to be a game environment where they are playing from behind. And they just throw that motherfather the ball a lot.
Yeah, I was looking at the running backs too in this game a little bit more than the pass get. Like even like Hunter Henry is 4,100. Like these prices are just up there. Bourne is probably okay, but man, like Zeke was getting a bunch of work last week for whatever reason. Ramondre got his lower usage and then ends up having one of his better weeks. Like, isn't that crazy how that works, right? Like the same thing bounces.
He's kind of going back to having to be that guy that has to be efficient to get there, which sucks because we thought this was the year that, a lot like Tony Pollard. We thought, he's always got it done with efficiency. Now we can take that efficiency and a bigger workload. He'll have a monster year, and both of them so far this year have been mega disappointing.
The chat, what are we thinking here? The guy, Kendrick Bourne, 4,400, you mentioned, said that, they're saying Devontae Parker dropped Mac Jones' best throw of his career.
Oh, my God. Just dropped it out of the heavens on a huge play out of his end zone. Just drops it right in the guy's hand. I mean, what a beautiful throw. Mac Jones ain't the problem. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. That team has no fucking talent around him. That's the problem. I will defend Mac Jones, and I'm not a Mac Jones guy, but he ain't the problem.
He throws it a lot. I don't know. Ramondre 5,600 is cheap. I don't know if I'll get there, but him or James Cook on the other side, but he's impossible to get right too. So
Travis said, I've been playing Zeke over Ramondre this season. Well, I'll just tell you in DFS, I'll play neither of them, right? I don't want to get cute and try to pick a running back situation in a total where they're going to be behind. I'd rather just go get a guy who's going to be in a game environment where, in a workload where he is going to get, 70% plus of the work. I'd rather have those guys than trying to guess which of us, these two slapdick running backs is going to do well in a negative game script against the Bills.
And usually in that case, talk about this all the time, but a guy like Zeke, just bet him on. If you think he's going to crush, bet 2 touchdown prop Like he could get 2 touchdowns from the 1-yard line and not be needed at all in DFS, even though it's a good score for 4,800. It's just what else crushes them. Then you don't need that. So you're better off to do it that way. And I do think Bills D looks pretty expensive here. So it's not really one I'm eyeing in on early.
Yeah, $4,200 on the road. I just don't love it. I get playing a defense against Mac Jones, but man, $4,200, you can like legit save $2,000. And I want to play a game with you called Go See How Much You Can Upgrade a Running Back Spot or a wide receiver spot with $2,000 extra dollars. It's insane. I'd rather spend that money elsewhere. That's where I'd go. Let's move over to Washington and the Giants. It looks like Daniel Jones is trending towards being back, I believe. He had the neck issue. We'll have to see. I just read before this that like he's feeling better. But, honestly, I got to just ask you a question. Does Tyrod Taylor not just give them a better chance to win than Daniel Jones?
I don't know. I think it's still the O-line issues. We'll see. Obviously, last game, people are going to be talking about that because of the way it ended. I don't know what the play call was. And I know he got his jersey held like crazy, and everyone was complaining that if that was Kelsey, it would get called back again for the second in a row. Sure. But like, why don't you just rush it in there or let Tyrod jump the line? Just try it. It might not work, but at least that play has to have much more success. So that one was a little bit tilting, but just looking at it from, a perspective of who's better, I still think Jones, when healthy, has shown at least something, but it's been really tough because this O-line, man, it's really hard to get after it.
Well, this is just a game I want to have somebody from this game, but goodness gracious, I'm just trying to look. I mean, I guess one of these Washington pass catchers, Dotson and McLaurin, one of them just seems like they're due for a breakout, but is this really the big breakout game environment? I don't know. I think Wandell's going to continue to be popular, but like I just don't like to play chalky, $3,000 receivers. That's just kind of a part of my process.
Yeah, the problems we got here too are that, again, we go back to like a Robinson Gibson thing. We got so many guys on the other side. Wide receiver roulette on pretty much both teams.
Yep.
Terry McLaurin, Samuel, Dotson, like just Diami Brown, all these guys where it's like you're trying to pick between them. And then on the Giant side, it's even harder. And that's kind of the best spots that we've seen so far this season. Logan Thomas, go back to the well at 3,500. I think this is typically
flop lag.
Yeah, and it hasn't been the best spot this season, but in the past you could get them with the tight end. They're middle of the pack this year, trending a little bit better, but who knows? Like, I don't remember exactly who they faced. So flop lag on Logan Thomas would be a spot that I would think about up front right now. Defenses are in play for sure too.
Look at Rosh just being a slime ball here. Jones, Barkley, Waller, Millie stack.
Yeah.
That didn't sound like Tambo was buying that one.
The D's are expensive here too, 3 and 3,500. Like for what they are, I'm just saying, like from some of the other options we thought about already, but I could see these guys being in play. Washington at 3,500 looks pretty good too.
All right, I cannot believe I'm going to say this. This Atlanta-Tampa Bay game, just two teams that I avoid like the fucking plague. I think this secretly, like, on a Tuesday, and by the way, for all of you that are like, hey, on the Tuesday show last week, you said you were playing Justin Fields. I said that was a stack that was interesting me, and then whenever I saw the fucking weather, I said, nope, not doing that one. If you have your final decisions made up on a Tuesday afternoon, you're probably not very good at NFL DFS, okay? This is an evolving process. This is a first thought show, Dickie. But so my first thoughts is I think I might have access to this game, which is just so weird. Tampa Bay, Atlanta, it's going to probably be in better weather conditions, and they're two teams that I don't think are very good, but because they're not very good, sometimes those teams accidentally are very good at fantasy. Can I sell you on this game at all?
Yeah, here's the one, Ross. Put this one together. Desmond Ridder, who they still don't bump any, and I know it's like you're chasing now. It's 2 weeks in a row, but again, it's like you said, it's just the way things can add up, and the price did not get changed. But Ridder, London, and Cade Otton, and then bet Cade Otton to get an anytime touchdown. That's how you stack this one up, and then play whatever else you want in your lineup because you have an average of over 6,000 remaining with, you could still put a cheap D in there too. So lots of money to spend. Ridder, London, Otton, and just hope that Ridder and London continue doing what they're doing. Atlanta, Cade Otton is in the Logan Thomas spot from last week that didn't work out, but there was a reason everyone was playing him, and I don't see everyone playing Cade Otton this week, at least not early in the week. So try that out.
Are the Falcons ever going to realize that Bijan is not Tyler Algier and he's not that great of a running back between the tackles and they need to get him the ball out in space in more creative ways? Or are they just going to continue to run him up the guard's ass for 2 yards every play?
That's what I don't know. That's the problem. But
it's honestly pretty tilting because you can tell Bijan is a legit talent, and they just don't know how to use it. They're like, nope, this is all we do is run up the guard's ass, and that's what we're going to do.
Man. I guess you could interest me in that, even though Tampa's not the best matchup. Who cares? Bijan is talented enough, and Bijan's floor is just incredible. Like when you look at it, it's not, 13 and 12, a 10 in there, but the others are 22, 24s, and 20s on games. If you were watching them or you're even box score watching, you're looking at it like, man, this guy did nothing and he still racked that up. And you go last week, 8 targets. This time he's still getting 13, 14 attempts a week. Like, man, I know people keep talking about Algier and that's been the difference maker and all that, but it's still, he's getting all those opportunities, doing really not much with them. It might just be time to unleash him. It's just tough because this is the side that makes
Here
it hard.
comes. This is going to blow people's mind. I always say I love Baker Mayfield, my favorite player in the NFL, but he's not a good fantasy quarterback. And Brian says, is it a Baker stack week? And I think right now my favorite early stack is Baker Mayfield. The nice thing about him is you basically he's super cheap, first of all. I think he's going to be in a very good scoring environment. We've seen Atlanta let almost every quarterback get there. But here's what I would say, is he only throws the ball to 3 guys. So I only have to rotate stacking him with Evans, Godwin, and probably Otton, right? And I think that he could, get me to 22 points. And if this is going to be another slimy week where the winning score is 180, 190 points, which me and Tambo have already said, those are the weeks where we clean up and then we both fucking ship a GPP when the winning score is under 200. Shocking. I think if it's going to be one of those weeks, give me a Baker Mayfield stack. And I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth.
You know what, though? This is the best part. If you just start your lineup with Baker, go Baker, Otton, and London, you can just flip it from Baker to Ritter, and you can just play both lineups like that. It's $100 less. So every Baker lineup for $100 less can become Ritter. But I will say this, too. If Ritter does get popular in the chase from people saying, well, now it's back-to-back weeks, he's still like everything I said at the start. People see that. It's just like the defense conversation we had earlier, where you can literally just swap it to the other side and play it that way. I definitely think that's a possibility here for sure. Boy, and someone said Ritter plays better at home. That 31-0 thing, from all that stuff, man, who knows how that really ends up working out? But I just wouldn't lay on that one and say it's because of that.
Could be. Travis says, as a former O-line coach, which I did coach some O-line back in the day as a football coach, believe the injuries on O-lines are overstated or understated. I actually think in the NFL that O-line injuries, people spend so much time analyzing offensive lines, and this is probably going to be a controversial take. I think they are vastly overrated. The defensive lines in the NFL are so much deeper and better. There's so many more good defensive linemen in the NFL than there are offensive linemen, that outside of a true superstar tackle like Trent Williams or somebody like that being out, the difference between a starting offensive lineman at the left guard for fucking whatever random team you want to pick versus the backup left guard is pretty razor thin, because there's just not a lot of superstar offensive linemen. So outside of a handful of truly stud left and right tackles, Lane Johnson, Trent Williams, maybe some centers who are really good at making those calls, I don't worry too much about, a perfect example is the Seahawks, I think back in week 2 or week 3. Oh, both their tackles are out. They're going to get killed. Fuck that. They don't have any good tackles to begin with, so their backups are going to be the same guys. Geno throws for 325 and 2 touchdowns and gets there, right? So I don't overreact to the offensive line news unless it's a superstar. Do you have any takes on that, Tambo?
I think I've been on the opposite side of it. I do like what you said, though. A lot of what your takes just were kind of makes sense. Again, I think, though, the thing the Geno example, and Lamar did it a couple weeks later. Remember, Lamar, it was a week after, and Lamar was missing his guys, Ronnie Stanley in the center, and everyone were out. And he goes, like I say, he's going to either run for a bunch or he's going to get crushed. I think it matters still. And that's one of the things I've always seen where the books don't even react to it, though. That's kind of what's funny. But in some cases I've seen where you get the other side of it. What I think ends up happening, though, is the quarterbacks scramble like crazy in these scenarios. Like you said, if you lose your good O-lineman, it's definitely, there's not many guys behind them. So what ends up happening is they either scramble and go off in a panic, or they get absolutely crushed. So I don't know where I lean on it, but I've definitely always thought sort of the opposite, where I think it's something that people don't consider as much. But in a game, it's kind of like in Showdown, where we're just taking an angle on it. I think it's definitely one way or the other of the extremes. It's not really in between.
My dude Dollar Bill makes a great point. He said, if you're going to play Baker, don't forget about Trey Palmer on some long bombs. I don't mind that, right? Because Trey Palmer's a guy that can get there with one pass catch, right? One pass catch, 76 yards and a touchdown. Old Trey Palmer's there all of a sudden. If you're doing disgusting Baker stacks. By the way, guys, make sure you're hitting the like. Once we get to 100 likes, we'll do 2 drawings. And all you got to do to be in the drawing is just ask a question, right? No more than 2, you motherfathers. I don't want to be here all day, all right? I got a hot date with dinner. All right. Pittsburgh and the Rams. All right, so that was our 6 early slate games. Let's get to the afternoon slate. Pittsburgh and the Rams. First of all, what's our quarterback situation? Is Pickett back? I mean, I see him here on Run the Sims. I'm going to go ahead. If he's back, I'm going to say something. And I think I saw Deontay Johnson got activated from IR too, which actually makes me a lot more interested in Pittsburgh. This game is in the Dome. We know the Rams can be fairly efficient on offense. Could I anyway sell you on a disgusting Pittsburgh stack and that this game could be a good scoring environment relative to the rest of the games on this slate, Tambo?
What is Deontay's price? Because I did see that too.
That is a good question. Let's see. Deontay Johnson, only $5,000. Sign my ass up. Sign my ass up. I'm in.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. If you're going to do it, like Pickett is 5K, he's 5K. You can cut it off there if you wanted.
Yep, exactly.
And then
just a skinny, man.
Just run it back with somebody like your choice.
Yep.
Cup's up to 9,500 now, as expected, but.
Yeah, that's a tough price to pay. But I'll tell you what, whenever you're playing a really cheap stack, and another thing the part of my process, Tambo, I talked about on the retrospective this week, is when I play these cheap quarterbacks, like I played Minshew this past week, I'm done double stacking them. I like the skinny stacks with them, right? Because a lot of times they won't get enough points to take 2 pass catchers across the finish line with them. A lot of times they're just going to get one guy there, and if you just have those 2, you can go get your correlation in the other games, like a Dolphin-Panthers type game or some other type shootout game, and just run that skinny stack with your quarterback, because a cheap quarterback doesn't always need to get 2 pass catchers there.
Yeah, I think that's fine and fair. And too, again, it's like you said, though, like, so Baker Mayfield and Kate Otten is a cheap skinny stack. Kate Otten fills a shitty tight end slot, like you said, that actually makes it work. What if Baker runs one in? We've seen him do that in the past, get close to the line, take one to the house. You could fit in Palmer at 3,600 and make it really disgusting and cheap, and it takes one bomb, and then that will be enough, and your lineup is loaded elsewhere. So I'm still going to risk it, but you can also look at it from the run back perspective. Look at our guy, D-Dry, won the Millie last week. It was just Ritter, London, Pitts. That's all it took. He didn't need to run it back, and Pitts was in there. It was a double stack.
He had Shaheed, didn't he?
Really work. It worked.
Didn't he have Shaheed?
Shaheed was on New Orleans against Houston.
Oh, fuck. What am I thinking?
I played Curtis Samuel as the run back at the same price.
Okay, my bad.
And he still would have won by 7 points instead of 11.5 or whatever. So
I was fucking thinking Shaheed was cool. Wow. All right, I need to pay more attention. Sprite Soda said, did you ship that golf, DGen? Go watch the retrospective. I ended up finishing 5th. Did not. But, things happen. Jeff says, how much do you guys get owned after a big week? Do I fade Drake London because he had a big week last week? Yeah, I think a lot of people do love to chase. You'd be amazed how many people out there, casuals, just go look at game logs and they see this guy had a good week last week. I'm going to play him. People do that, Jeff. So I think that's a thing. What do you think? Do you think Drake London will be popular this week, Tambo?
It looks like he's going to get a little bit on early on, just seeing it here. It says, right now he's coming in somewhere between 8 to 12%. So I can see that. But to the question of, do I fade him just because he had a big week? I think that's a mistake that people do. Oh, I'm just going to pivot because we just talked about a way you could play him differently. You could play him with Kate Otten and none of these gross quarterbacks that we said. You could play Baker's side of the stack and not Ritter and use him just to rack up those PPR points and hope that somebody else beats him to it, or because you have cheap guys in that way, you can get around it. So I think it's not, again, as I always say, it's not who you play, it's how you play him. I don't think he's getting to like 25% where you have to be like, Drake London, 25%. That's disgusting. I don't think you're going to see something like that.
And let's not bury the lead on this game here that I didn't want to forget to talk about. Kieran Williams is likely out this week, right? So are you going to go play the free punt running back for the Rams this week?
What's his name? Evans?
Yeah, Zach Evans. I believe that's Zach Evans. Where the hell?
Yeah, you got him there, Zach Evans. Yeah. So how much is he? 4,000?
4,000, the stone minimum.
Man, that's the thing. That's the problem with these spots. It gets annoying because he's going to get chalky, and it is what it is. It's a price play. But with the total, the close spread, all of that, it's like there could be opportunity there. You may want to just side with these pass catchers because obviously they're involved no matter what. But we'll see how the week shakes out. I mean, right now, definitely have interest in a 4K running back. If Williams is out as he's supposed to be and Zach Evans would be the guy to plug in, I think it could be something there for sure.
Adam Nichols says, do double stacks really ever work? Well, first of all, I think there's 2 things I want to say to this. First of all, me and Pat Mayo both shipped to GPP last year with a Tom Brady, or was that 2 years ago, a Tom Brady double stack, right? Mm-hmm. Pocket passers can often get 2 wide receivers there because that's where they got to get all their points is passing. The other thing I would say is double stacks can also work whenever you have a cheap quarterback, right? Like say you run Minshew, Granson, and Downs. Not all those guys have to have monster games. If they all have 15 to 20 points, that can be part of a GPP winning lineup, so because it lets you go get all those studs, and if you go pick all the right studs that go off that week, you can still get there with a double stack. So I think the key is, I never like a Hurts A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith stack, because you're just spending way too much money, and he'll just never get both of those guys there. So I think it matters the type of quarterback you have. You got anything on that, Tambo?
Yeah, it's really tough too. Like a Tua, Tyreek, Waddle. If you can even make it fit with value, it's like one eats from the other. But I think this is funny. You brought this up with like the Minshew thing. People think he absolutely sucked last week. He almost had 17 DraftKings points, and he did suck. He threw all those picks. He was horrible. He did nothing memorable at all. He still almost had 17. And why is that important? People that were winning GPPs were winning with 22 with Ritter, with 22 with Tua. Like this guy had 16.6 or something, and he was horrible. And back to your point of the price can make it work. That's what people don't realize. It's more about the opportunities than the result. Like
Minshew was
go in that.
He was the only stack I ran this last week, and I had my biggest week of the year by far, right? Just only Minshew stacks. I only ran one stack this week. They were all Minshew stacks. They were skinny stacks. It was either with Downs or Pittman, and that was it. And it got there because he was solid, and Pittman and Downs were solid, but it let me get to all these studs at other spots, and that's what a winning lineup is. It's not about how any one guy does. It's about what the totality of the lineup does.
Can you bring up Brian's question real quick? He just asked.
Yeah, let's see this Puka one. Oh wait, that's not a question.
No, that's whatever.
Oh, wow.
This is like if you want to play him, play him. The last one he just brought up, it says last question for me. Do you?
Oh yeah, here we go, Brian. Here we go. Last question for me. Do you guys like pivoting when people are spending up at a position? Meaning, if people go high at a running back and a cheap wide receiver, do you go the opposite way? I'll let you handle that one, Tambo.
Yeah, because I want to say this because this gets asked all the time, and I think people forget. Like it's all again goes back to the original start of the season, your style of play, your portfolio, whatever. When people ask me this question, I don't know what you wanted me to tell you. Not you rudely, just saying in factual, because it's like this is like a single entry question. If you have one lineup, I think that's a good way to look at it. Do you want to go with the public and the way everybody else is playing it and the same setup, or do you want to go against it? This would be a way to say if everyone's going expensive running backs, I'll go cheap ones. Yes, that is a strategy piece. But when I have both of these, I have it everywhere. Like I have different sets of lineups within, even if I'm playing 4 or 5 quarterbacks, I've got some of those lineups that fit expensive running backs in and cheap wide receivers. I've got some that flip it. Like I'm doing both. So it's very hard to answer. When someone says this guy versus this guy, well, if I'm playing them both, I'll just tell you who I have the higher exposure of, I guess, but I'm playing them where I'm supposed to be playing them and in spots that make sense. When you're asking this question, and I'm assuming you are playing one lineup, so it's a good question for you. I'm saying, yes, this is something to consider, but there is no one way, shape, or form. It's slate dependent. It's your portfolio dependency, all these factors of how you're playing your lineups this week. And to your point earlier, when you were talking about the solver and setting it up with your stuff your way, and then you don't really have to go and worry about percentages and stuff like that, this kind of ties in to that as well. If you know you're on stuff that's against the grain, nothing else matters really as much as that. But in this case, if you're playing just one entry, it's definitely something you should look at of what is the field doing and how can I beat them versus how do I think all these games are going to go? That's really what it comes down to.
All right, we got 3 games left to go. Arizona and Seattle, a 44.5-point total, which on this slate is monstrous, tied for the second highest total. What do you think about this game? I mean, Arizona's kind of been a sieve this year, but I wonder, if maybe in Seattle we get one of those rainy afternoon games. It's like a 21-10 game. I'll really be checking the weather there, but there's just some real good spots for Seattle here, right? Like this just strikes me as a Kenneth Walker or DK Metcalf. One of these guys just seems like they're going to go monstrous. Is there anybody from this game that you're like initially filling?
Yeah, anybody from Seattle, pretty much, maybe besides the tight ends, but that's sort of the only part they protect against. But from the Arizona side, you can do just as much. So I do think there is a possibility here. We see this game get some late steam. If we don't, it's actually a spot I would like to go in tournaments just because we have a lot. Again, going back, why? Prices. $5,300 for Dobbs, $6K for Geno Smith. I might be done with the Dobbs experience, but if you go to the other side of it, you can still get some plays in there. If you want to play Marquise Brown, you could just use him on the other side. You can go to Ertz at $3,200, but on Seattle, Metcalf only $6,800, Lockett only $6K. I'm actually okay with those price tags here. So it'll probably be the Geno side I would have more interest in starting things off.
I will tell you this, Marquise Brown was some big flop lag last week, but I'm going to let you know, I watched the game. He was still getting plenty of targets, really high value targets, and Dobbs just missed him on a couple throws. I mean, Marquise Brown was a play or two away from having a real big week. I would not overreact to that. He's likely going to be in a game environment where they're going to have to throw the ball, and he is definitely the usage monster there. And unbelievably, it's week 7, and he's still healthy. I can't believe Marquise Brown has made it 7 weeks without dying. Truly incredible. All right, So from Seattle, if you had to pick one guy, is there any one guy you're really leaning towards?
Probably Walker or Lockett.
Yeah.
I like those guys better, but you can play Walker. Some Mike asked it. You can definitely do Geno, Walker, and one receiver for sure. And that's worked. That's actually how I got into the live final in New Orleans last year, was a Walker, Geno, and DK Metcalf stack was what I got in on, was those three on one side and one guy on the other.
Rambo Tambo. Never seen that nickname. I like that. The Rambo Tambo.
Mayo's show last week, he had me. They blew me up on Rambo's body with my face.
Dude, that guy that makes those thumbnails, pretty funny.
It's nuts.
Pretty funny. All right, Denver and the tied for the second highest total. Denver and Green Bay. I mean, I guess we got to consider this game. This is normally a game I would just X out on my slate, but I guess on this slimy ass slate, you got to be kind of considering it, right?
Yeah, this is something for sure. I know already that people are looking at. Love here, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at like to recreate the Ritter type stuff where you can just get the cheap quarterback in a good matchup against Denver. Pretty much any position you could pound them with. Like everyone's looking at all these options here. So I do see that, but I want to see one thing right quick because Denver is fine, but on the Green Bay side, actually, what's the situation with Aaron Jones right now?
I mean, let's see. This just has him marked as week 7. So I didn't see an injury update on him. I was looking before the show to get all the new injury updates, and I did not see him. Let's see. Let me go over here and scroll down to Green Bay, and let's see what it says about him real quick. Green Bay, Aaron Jones just says questionable. Packers, yeah. So I would say he's probably 50-50 to play would be my guess.
Yeah, I will say this. I already can tell just because it looks like there's more early love than what you would usually get on Love, speaking of him, where, you're seeing it early that people are wanting to stack that side up. I think you got a really good spot here for Aaron Jones if he plays to get him in there instead of those stacks. Like that would be perfect leverage on this slate if people are going to be stacking that up as a popular cheap stack or going to Musgrave or Watson or any of those guys that they've got at wide receiver. I think you could definitely do that.
And Christian Watson's back down into the 5,000 stand. But what I tell you, when they're in the 5,000s, I see value. When they're 6,000, I'm like, whoa. I'm not made of money here. Yeah. So Christian Watson at 5,600, it seems very appetizing if I'm going to do a Jordan Love stack as a guy that I would instinctively want to stack him with, right? Probably him, Dobbs, and Musgrave would probably be the top 3 I'd want to stack him with. Yeah,
Denver's bad against the tight end. Musgrave will get Love as well, too. So Love, Musgrave, pick your guy. Dobbs is 4,900. For Best Buy pricing there, even lower. And then, like you said, in the 5K range for Watson, whoever else you want to plug into it for sure. So that's how I'm seeing this game right now. Anybody on the Denver side quick that you had?
I mean, Javonte, actually, I still think he's a legit talent, and he did show some signs of life last week. But man, I just think that with that running back, that's just a toxic running back situation. All those guys are getting their love. All of them are getting their touches. And I just don't want to play a running back that's in a running back by committee on main slate. I'll do that shit on Showdown. I just don't like to do it on main slate.
It does suck. Denver's at home. They're the underdog. Maybe people are on it less. But if I'm stacking the Love side, just talking on a Tuesday, I kind of like having Javonte in there to get things popping early, get that speed up. And then then our cheap guys are really pushing for us and the game's moving quickly. We get more plays in, all these factors where those prices become even more valuable when that's happening. So I don't hate that either.
All right, let's finish with this last game. Without question, going to be the chalkiest game on the slate, and I think a lot of people are going to be like leading GPPs heading into the afternoon, feeling so good, and they're going to watch their asses moonwalk all afternoon because I think all 4 of these afternoon games probably might be my 4 favorite games on the slate, and this one would be the most popular and my favorite. Not that that's some hot fucking spicy take, but this game, the Chargers are they have not been as efficient this year on offense as I would want them to be, but shit, they throw the ball down the field. They really push the pace of a game, and we know the Chiefs have no problem scoring 28 at home every fucking game.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. The chat's talking to it. I'm always reading that. I'm listening to you, but I'm saying I do want to talk about something different than you at this game to round out, and you can talk about the plays in this. It's really hard to predict between them. We'll talk about ways to get different. But Nick asked about late swap, and Denny Barry asked, do you guys make sure you have an afternoon hammer? So everything you were saying made me think of tying both these questions together. And again, talk about process more than picks. That's what we're about. So I love this right now. The slate dependent for the question that Denny asked on this slate, if you don't have afternoon guys, you're probably in big trouble. Degenerate 75 just told us why that's the case. Look at it. You're going to have a spot here where all these games have plays within it. To Nick's question, and to tie it back to that and why this is important, this is definitely a late swap slate. We have all these games in the afternoon. If you have some low-owned pieces go nuts in the morning and you're in good shape and you truly think this Chargers-Kansas City game is where it's at, then you have all the room in the world to plug in some of this chalk because you're already way ahead of the field with your low-owned plays from the morning. But if your guys bust in the morning, why are you sitting on this game in the afternoon? There's just no reason to do it anymore because, yeah, it's the best total. Yeah, it looks like the best spot on the slate, but what are you playing for? You're putting yourself in trouble for a min cash at that point. You need to pivot somewhere else and hope that game fails just to get your min cash in this case. So realistically, you can use it multiple ways, but just to talk about it from that perspective, I wanted to bring that up first. You don't even know if you'll be on this game, right? Because unless you're using all afternoon guys only, then this game may not be something you want to be on. So you should be ready to late swap this week. Because if your early guys fail, you're not going to want to have a bunch of these guys in your lineup. There's just no point at that range, right? Because all of them are going to be so owned.
And with as expensive as these guys are in this game, it's going to be very easy for you to late swap to whoever you want in the afternoon. Because if you've saved up your money putting Keenan Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, guys like that in your lineup, you have all the funds in the world to switch anywhere you want to, and will be able to get different very easily. And so that could be one appealing part of playing this game, is that the pivot off of it would be a piece of cake. All right, who's your favorite play from this game? Like, you got anybody that's really just jumping out? Games like this, Tambo, you know how I always like to do it. When there's a chalky game, of course I'm going to have access to that game, but I'm either going to take a chalky piece and just be massively overweight on it, or I'm going to go play this game in a way that nobody else is, right? Like, if I think Austin Eckler is going to be way lower owned than everybody else, maybe he's the guy I go in there and hope that he just steals all the usage in this game. What do you think?
Yeah, one thing I'll say, my most interesting play actually was not even a skill position. It's actually Kansas City defense.
Yep.
Not sure how much you watched that game, but Herbert looked way off yesterday. Multiple overthrows, multiple mistakes. I just don't know if in Kansas City at Arrowhead, if you're going to get away. He got away with a lot last night. I know Palmer had a million chances too on the other side. So if you want to play it from that perspective, he's 4,800. They were trying to get him involved very heavily. I know everyone was tilted about Gallup last night. I understand why, but Palmer really was tilting. He actually had a bunch called back that he caught. He had a touchdown call back that he caught, and some for good reason. I'm just saying he actually had chances at 4,800, so I don't hate him. That's probably the spot I'd be looking at there, but I do like the defense. And then if you want to try and pick your poison between Everett and Parham, go ahead. I struggle with that. I struggle with this game, really. As good as the total is, and I'll be there, I'm saying I struggle to get it right. I'm just going to have to plug combinations together and see how it fits. But if I'm not playing this game, I do like the Kansas City D at 2,400. And that's a way, when you're avoiding a game with a high total, to still get a piece of it and say, if it's not going to hit, how can I get after it? It could end up being like Pacheco and the KCD. That might be how I go about it, something like that.
No one's more tilting than Quentin Johnson. I had some really good showdowns lineups last night, and Quentin Johnson, that dude, he's not even on the field, and when he is, he's just running wind sprints, and they throw him the ball once a game. It's so tilting.
Yes.
The other big takeaway I have is Travis Kelce's back up to 8,000, and outside of God himself playing tight end, it is so hard to justify paying $8,000 at tight end. So I'll just tell you, because it really limits what you can do. So much of building rosters is a lot of times we save money at tight end and we save money at defense, which allows us to get better running backs, better quarterbacks, better running backs. And when you're paying $8,000 at tight end, you almost are committing yourself to double punting in your lineup somewhere, often at two high value positions like running back and wide receiver. So just be very cognizant whenever you pay $8,000 for Kelce in a lineup, what it does to the rest of your lineup. He may be the definitive best tight end on the slate, but is he literally $5,000 better than some of the other options? That is some calculus that you're going to need to factor in before you put Kelce in your lineup.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely something I'm always looking at. And I know people say, to your original point, oh, but tight end's been a wasteland. I just want to rack up those points there and get it. But there's going to be a cheap guy that gets you something, or point per dollar wise probably comes through. So again, Kelce, more than likely is either two things in your game stacks, which is fine, or I understand if you do say that's how I'm going to access this game, give me Palmer, Kelce, and just give me two small pieces within this game. I don't hate it if you want to just rack up the PPR points, but like I said, that's something like you said. You got to look at the rest. If the rest of it makes sense and works, or some of these stacks that we've already talked about that make it happen, then we're good. But other than that, it's not something that I'm in love with starting out early Tuesday.
Guys, make sure you hit the like. We only need 9 more to get to 100. If I could give one final thought on this game, there is a way that Patrick Mahomes could have 28 points and could be the best quarterback on the slate and still not be in an optimal, because he's so damn hard to stack, right? Maybe he just throws 4 touchdowns to 4 random slappies. We know that the Chiefs have no shortage of slappies, and people could play Mahomes and still not get there because the people that they're double stacking him with do not get there, because he's spreading the love around to so many different different guys. Just something to consider. That's why I always hate playing Mahomes on main slates. He's just so fucking hard to stack, and I like my quarterback stacks to be concentrated. I want to know who they're throwing the ball to. That is why I ultimately went with Minshew last week, not because he's good, but because I thought he was in a good game environment, and he basically throws the ball to two people, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. But like you said, at least when we're stacking it up, we know what we're getting. And that's why I still continue to do it, like you said, because you're going to get stacks that can actually hit. And if they do, then it's really just a matter of plugging in the right studs around it, right? So that's really what it comes down to.
All right, I think that's the slate. Guys, editor, let's see. Let's do one drawing, and let's see if we get to 100. While we do that, come check out my site, DGen75. We have PGA, NFL, and college football, and coming in February, we're doing NASCAR. As you can see, another unbelievable week. We had 23 GPP winners this past week between golf and NFL. Awesome week, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Look at all those motherfather flags flying. We're just a little site that could. We want to provide you the best tools like the Rosetta Stone out there and do it all without price gouging you. And if you want to try it out, we have a code new guy just for this month because it's been such a good month. If you want to try it out for a free week, just sign up for my newsletter. Let the editor know at support DGen75 on Twitter. He'll get you hooked up. But I think that if you want sports like NHL, NBA, MMA, or you just want to have more supplements to your NFL content, to your PGA content, there's got to be a place that does it, helps you with the process, and doesn't fucking price gouge you. And that would be what my dude Tambo is doing over at Ship It Nation. Tambo, sell it one more time. Tell these people why they need to sign up.
Yeah, they've already got yours, and if not, add them both, but put them together. Like I said, right now with college football, you're going to have NASCAR. We don't have that. So you've got lots of stuff you can put together. You already have the stone with your other sports. You've got projections and ownership for Showdown PGA, which we don't have. So it's the perfect complementary piece to hop over to Ship It Nation. You'll get NHL right now. We're doing MLB playoffs. If you want to get in there, that's fine. We also have NBA just around the corner. Matter of fact, in 25 minutes, Hoop and myself on the Ship It Nation YouTube station at Ship It Nation on YouTube are going to be doing our NBA launch show, showing off the tools, the projections, and all the content that we're going to be having coming up for NBA. And if you want to check us out on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Ship It Nation, you can check the pin tweet and you can check the tweet from today of what happened in Showdown last night and just see how things have been going for all the members over there. We're the same as DGen when it comes to the price. It's not anything about that. Our price is always going to be one of the best prices out there. Try and keep it as low as possible and give you everything you need to have success with DFS.
Awesome, man. Hey, Crypto Pooper says, how do I fly the flag? It's over on my Discord, or you can just reach out to the DGen editor on Twitter. He'll send it to you. Always like to see people doing it. I see tons of Ship It Nation people flying the flag on the top of the leaderboards also. It's just, it's awesome. It's great for the brand, and we appreciate every single one of you that do that. That's why I send you a shirt every time you win a GPP. This one right here. The Showdown Hoedown, because you don't know how valuable that is, and it helps build the community. We appreciate all of you guys. Editor, before we get out of here, let's go ahead and do one more drawing. I don't know how many likes we got because we're on StreamYard and you can't see that. So as the editor does that, I just want to thank all of you guys for being here. Do not forget to go check out my retrospective that I did. It's on YouTube. I do this every week over on my Discord. I'm very transparent about my successes, my failures, and everything in between because you know what? These people always sell that you can win at DFS every week, and they're fucking full of shit. It is a grind, and it is not always a straight line upwards, and that is what I'm trying to tell you guys. I want this to be fun and sustainable for you, and if you do it right, maybe you can get some wins. Brian, that man deserves a win for his great questions. Brian, you have won. Thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to come check out. We're going to go live at noon tomorrow for PGA because PGA is locking early as shit tomorrow, so be there at noon. Go check out Ship It. Thank you again, Tambo, for being here. This has been awesome. Guys, we will see you tomorrow for the emergency stream. Enjoy this outro, you motherfucker.